Don't ride here. Ride here. Explore new horizons with Moto Freight. Proud sponsors of Under the Visor.
I'm Alex Jackson. I run Cupstep Motorcycle Adventure Tours, which offers tours in South Africa and bespoke tours around Southern Africa. It's not. I don't do work with a specific charity. I work with South African national parks, which have their own anti-poaching units. So that tends to be where the emphasis is being pushed these days. Although we have in the past worked with Helping Rhinos, which is another organisation. No, not at all. I'm from Leighton Buzzard, which is probably only famous for the Great Train Robbery. I guess as a boy, I was brought up on a TV diet of Daktari and Tarzan and the survival program, which probably nobody under 50 will have ever heard of. And that kind of stayed with me. And one time I was in Kenya on my first ever proper safari, just as a tourist, and I saw this little pit in the soil, and I couldn't work out how it had got there. And there were various ones about. And so I asked the guy that we were with, the guy that was taking us on a walk, I said, "What's this about?" And he said, "Watch this." And he showed me it's a thing called an ant lion. And it builds this little sand trap so that when an insect comes along, it gets caught in it and it's got its lunch. And I thought that was fantastic. And it kind of turned a light on for me to want to learn more about wildlife. And so I had a chat with this guy's son who was training to be a ranger. In Kenya, things cost a lot of money back then. So I looked in South Africa and I could get a 12-day sort of touristy type safari guide course for £400. Now, I know people that pay more than £400 for one night in a lodge, let alone 12 days out in the bush. So I went and did that, and I passed the exam, and I did it again and again and again. And then I got into the tracking. I recently, maybe last year, passed my track and sign professional certificate, which effectively means I got 100% in the evaluation. And just being there, I think anybody who's been to Africa, who's been into the wildlife side of things, knows that it gets a little part of you. It's where life began. It's got a special energy. I guess it was two serious interests. I used to work in a corporate industry, and one day decided that I was nearly 50 and I was probably lived longer than I was ever going to live. So I need to do something that's for me now. And so I already ride bikes. I love being in the wildlife. I love being in South Africa. I'd explored South Africa extensively for a good 10 years solo, riding around it. So I thought, well, other people must like doing this. And so I won't lie, I first started taking people there just to subsidise my own riding. As I guess a lot of people start that way. And then it got so popular that we, probably just over 9 years ago, started Cupstep Motorcycle Tours. And luckily enough, being in the wildlife side of things as well, I was able to combine the motorcycles and the wildlife. And in fact, last year we took the first ever motorcycle group into Kruger National Park, where bikes have always been banned from. Yeah, I think the knowledge I've built up and the training I've done over the last 14 years, it seems a shame to waste it to 3 or 4 days on each bike tour. So what I'm looking at doing, and also I'm not going to lie to you, I'm 60 this year. I'm not going to ride motorcycles forever at the same level as I'm riding now. I need to find a way of earning some money. The market for general safaris is a lot bigger, but I don't just want to do like minibus full of people on safari tours. I want to maybe put it more of a one-on-one experience, or family or couples, and take them out for escorted tours that way. Pretty much everywhere I haven't been, but you know what, when you do this job, it's a fantastic lifestyle, but it does take up all your time. So for me to go off and do something else means I've got to stop working to go and do that. I guess I'm not one of these places or one of these people who just wants to go somewhere once, because I want also to be able to go back and look again, which is how I sort of explored South Africa. I went back to the same place, but I'd go a different way. Oh, I'd sort of go to that same place, but go and explore just off to the side of it somewhere. So, yeah, I'd want to learn much more about South Africa and Southern Africa as a whole. But at top of my list at the moment is Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a fantastic place. They are, from personal experience, the friendliest Africans I've ever met. I had the best time going through Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, it was cut short because I'd had an issue with the bike, and I lost a lot of exploring days, so I had to go through the town because I was on a calendar for somebody else. But yeah, I've got to get back to Zim. My UK bike is a KTM, a 2007 KTM 990. Why did I choose that bike? Because I used to be into sort of like retro, naked, XJR 1300 type bikes. My brother-in-law was in fact one of the biggest motocross dealers in the country, who was retiring, and I saw this KTM 990 and just fell in love with it. And so he, again, I won't lie, he managed to get me a very good price, so I had that. And then just got the KTM bug, and now I own a 1190R in South Africa. Where will they find me? Well, they'll find us on the website, which is cupstepmat.com. Probably a lot easier to spell than it is to say. Most of the motorcycle shows around the UK, except the big ones. I don't do NEC because for me, as a one-man band, it's just not financially viable to do that. But a lot of the smaller shows around the country, I would say I probably meet 95% of my clients before I go away. And even if they've booked over the web, if they live in the UK somewhere, I will go along and meet them first so that everybody knows exactly what they've got to offer. So if you do want to book up, if you want us to put your booking forms in, great, but we also probably have to catch up.
Don't ride here. Ride here. Explore new horizons with Moto Freight. Proud sponsors of Under the Visor.